We're live now. Hello, everybody. Avery Young here. Welcome back to another episode of the Storyteller's Corner. And today, ready for another Grimm adventure. We are officially on episode 7. Can you believe that? 7 episodes already. So, once we get some people in here, I will start telling the story. But for now, let's dive into the commentary as per usual. So the number 7 kind of has some special elements tied into it. We have 7 days in the week. 7 is considered to be a lucky number. And 7 days, and the number 7 is the number of days that it took to create the earth. So there is some special treatment given to the number 7. And since we're on episode 7, I figured it'd be fitting to talk about a fairy tale that includes 7 figures. A fairy tale classic, if you will. I, of course, am referring to the story of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Now, this is a story that is universally known. Anyone who has ever grown up, but anyone knows the story of Snow White, or at the very least has some concept of the fairy tale. It's universally well known, and I mean, how could it not? It's got all the classic fairy tale elements. You got magic mirrors, you got evil stepmothers, you got beautiful princesses, you got handsome princes, you got poison apples, the entire works. Now, as I've said before, many of these stories have gone through multiple adaptations. As such, when it comes to having a story being told over and over again, certain elements change. But not only that, these adaptations and retellings have also appeared in the modern media. Be it a picture book or a graphic novel, the adaptations of Cinderella and that particular story go on, even going into the media, be it a cartoon or a movie. Again, multiple adaptations of Cinderella, but some being more softened and toned down to be more palatable for younger audiences, whereas some stick close to the source material and are more darker and thematic in their elements. For an example of both ends of these, the film Mirror Mirror is a very humorous and creative adaptation of the story Snow White, and while it still has some thematic elements to it, it's ultimately very sweet and funny and very vivid in its storytelling and its take on the story, giving it a new flavor, which I like. And I also like that it borrows from different stories, in a sense. And then an example of a more darker adaptation of the Snow White story would be the equivalence of Snow White and the Huntsman, which is very dark, very thematic, and definitely not suitable for a young audience. Now, as I mentioned before, with every story being passed down through oral tradition, retellings are abundant, and in retellings, certain aspects of the story change. But in these retellings of the story of Snow White, there are similar elements that tie into the original story. Usually these elements, from the adaptations that I've read, the elements are usually the same, often being a wicked stepmother, poison, and a kind prince, and oftentimes magic. Like the story of Gold Tree and Silver Tree, an Irish adaptation of the story of Snow White, rather than having a magic mirror, Silver Tree, the wicked stepmother of the story, goes to a pond where there is this trout, and she asks this trout every day, trout in the pond, who's the loveliest of them all, and the trout either answers her, "You're the prettiest of them all," or it answers, "Yeah, you're pretty, but your daughter Golden Tree is prettier than you." And of course, in that story, there's also the elements of poisoning, though the methods and how Silvertree tries to poison and kill her daughter are different. And in the end, she's only able to succeed in killing her daughter 2 times. And another element I forgot to mention that ties into these stories is the consequences that befall the antagonist of the story. In the case of Silvertree from Silvertree and Goldtree, she gets a taste of her own medicine and she ends up drinking some of her own poison on accident when she tries to go and kill Goldtree for the 3rd time in the row. In some adaptations, these punishments or comeuppances are a lot more tame by comparison. In Mirror Mirror, the comeuppance was the Wicked Queen lost her magic and her secret palace ended up being destroyed, along with whoops, sorry, wrong button. In an adaptation that I have in my library, because I found a collection of children's fairy tales. In that adaptation of Snow White, the evil queen just becomes so furious that she runs off into the forest, never to return. And then, of course, we can't forget about Disney and their take on the story of Snow White. In that adaptation, a classic, by the way, the Wicked Queen, after poisoning Snow White, goes to knock a boulder off the mountain to crush the cottage's house and to also crush Snow White along with it. She is struck by lightning, where she proceeds to fall off the very cliff she was standing on, trying to get the boulder off, and the boulder proceeds to crush her. And then we see 2 buzzards proceed to fly off and start circling the unseen body of the dead queen. So these comeuppances vary, but they still tie in to the moral of the story. And of course, the moral and the story of Snow White is always centered around the concept of vanity. And we have 2 people in here. Welcome. Ask some questions. Don't be shy. Once I get some people in here, I will read the story. But yeah, for me, being someone who grew up on the Disney version, I certainly enjoyed the story. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I still enjoyed it as a kid. My favorite, a little secret, whether it's a well-known secret or not, but my favorite Disney movie as a little girl was always The Little Mermaid. But I digress. But yeah, you have these different elements and they all tie into the same story. And even in today, adaptations of these stories are very, 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 very different. Like, some adaptations are very sweet and soft, and they stick fairly close to the source material, but they are softened down to where, again, they are more palatable for a younger audience. Because let's be real, when children are young, they are easily frightened. I should know I was quite the scaredy cat myself when I was but a wee little thing. I was still weird though. But yeah, children are often easily scared, and sometimes it's easier to have a softer story. But as they get older, the original stories are a bit more. Sorry. I wanted to look nice for the live stream, so there we go. But when they get older, the original stories would definitely be better. Definitely giving them a taste. And of course, my speakers aren't working. It wouldn't be a live stream of fine if something wasn't going wrong. So yeah, feel free to come in, ask some questions. Once I get some people in the top chat, I'll start reading the story. Now, of course, I, being the person that I am, I always go for the original stories in all their raw, nitty-gritty details. For starters, they're more fun, but also it's nice to see where all these adaptations originated from. And of course, I always think that there's some wisdom and knowledge and of course entertainment to be gained if you delve a little deeper into the stories and if you go into the deep dark woods. Now, another adaptation I forgot to mention sort of an adaptation, as it borrows heavily not only from the story of Snow White, but also from other fairy tales, would be the movie of the Brothers Grimm, which is a very horror fantasy-esque story. I personally like it, but definitely not for kids. So, but yeah, if you guys come in, ask questions. Don't be shy. I'm willing to answer questions or take note of comments, because this is another classic, and this is one that sparked Disney's creativity, because Disney gave us a film adaptation, and he also gave us a film adaptation of Cinderella, which we touched over in episode 6. So, all right. Well, once this song ends, I will then proceed to read the story. But yeah, and again, I thought it'd be fitting, since we're on episode 7, that I read a story with 7 figures in it. And speaking of 7 figures, another adaptation of Snow White is from Italy. It's called Maria, the Wicked Stepmother, and the 7 Robbers. And in this story, this is where we first get a glimpse at the 7 Dwarfs characters. It's the first time we get those 7 figures. In that story, Maria, the Snow White character, she ends up abandoned in the woods by her father, and she ends up in the den of robbers, which they leave the youngest brother to make breakfast, and Maria comes out of her hiding spot, and the robber finds her, and she's like, "Please don't kill me," and the robber spares her. It's like, "You won't have anything to fear. Just live with us and be our sister. Just take care of the house, and we'll keep you safe." So, yes, lots of adaptations, but we're going to be reading the original. The original, of course, written by our good old friends, the Brothers Grimm. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Also, this does have an illustration, and so I'll try and show them to you. So, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in the middle of winter, when the flakes of snow were falling like feathers from the sky, a queen sat at a window sewing, and the frame of the window was made of black ebony. Ebony is a type of wood, in case you didn't know. And while she was sewing and looking out of the window at the snow, she pricked her finger with the needle, and 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow. And the red looked pretty upon the white snow, and she thought to herself, "Would that I had a child as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as the wood of the window frame." Soon after that she had a little daughter, who was as white as snow, and as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony, and she was therefore called Little Snow White. And when the child was born, the queen had died. After a year had passed, the king took to himself another wife. She was a beautiful woman, but proud and haughty, and she could not bear that anyone else should surpass her in beauty. She had a wonderful looking glass, and when she stood in front of it and looked at herself in it, and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" The looking glass answered, "Thou, O queen, art the fairest of all." Then she was satisfied, for she knew that the looking glass spoke the truth. But Snow White was growing up, and grew more and more beautiful, and when she was 7 years old she was as beautiful as the day, and more beautiful than the queen herself. And once when the queen asked her looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" it answered, "Thou art fairer than all who are here, Lady Queen, but more beautiful still is Snow White, as I ween." Then the queen was shocked, and turned yellow and green with envy. From that hour, whenever she looked at Snow White, her heart heaved in her breast. She hated the girl so much. And envy and pride grew higher and higher in her heart like a weed, so that she had no peace day or night. She called a huntsman and said, "Take the child away into the forest. I will no longer have her in my sight. Kill her, and bring me back her heart as a token." The huntsman obeyed and took her away, but when he had drawn his knife and was about to pierce Snow White's innocent heart, she began to weep and said, "Ah, dear huntsman, leave me my life. I will run away into the wild forest and never come home again." And as she was so beautiful, the huntsman had pity on her and said, "Run away then, you poor child. The wild beasts will soon have devoured you," thought he. And yet it seemed as if a stone had been rolled from his heart, since it was no longer needful for him to kill her. And as a young boar just then came running by, he stabbed it and cut out its heart and took it to the queen as proof that the child was dead. The cook had to salt this, and the wicked queen ate it and thought she had eaten the heart of Snow White. People in. I really wish I could see people's reactions in the comments, but oh well. So, before I turn the page, here's the illustration of the wicked queen and her mirror. Don't know if you could see that. I hope you could. I know my camera is pretty shitty. Now then. So, the huntsman kills the young boar and brings its heart back to the evil queen, and the evil queen has the cook salt it, and she eats it, thinking she's eaten the heart of Snow White. Yeah! Grimm, the Grimm version of the OG Snow White fairy tale. Don't you just love it? Anyway, but now the poor child was all alone in the great forest, and so terrified that she looked at every leaf of every tree and did not know what to do. Then she began to run, and ran over sharp stones and through thorns, and the wild beasts ran past her but did her no harm. She ran as long as her feet would go until it was almost evening. Then she saw a little cottage, and went into it to rest herself. Everything in the cottage was smaller, but cleaner than can be told. There was a table on which was a white cover, and 7 little plates, and on each plate a little spoon. Moreover, there were 7 little knives and forks, and 7 little mugs. Against the wall stood 7 little beds side by side, and covered with snow white counterpanes. Little Snow White was so hungry and thirsty that she ate some vegetables and bread from each plate, and drank a drop of wine out of each mug, for she did not wish to take all from one only. Then, as she was so tired, she laid herself down on one of the little beds, but none of them suited her. One was too long, another too short, but at last she found that the 7th one was just right, and so she remained in it, said a prayer, and went to sleep. When it was quite dark, the owners of the cottage came back. They were 7 dwarfs, who dug and delved into the mountains for ore. They lit their 7 candles, and as it was now light within the cottage, they saw that someone had been there, for everything was not in the same order in which they had left it. The first said, "Who has been sitting in my chair?" The second, "Who has been eating off my plate?" The third, "Who has been taking some of my bread?" The fourth, "Who has been eating my vegetables?" The fifth, who has been using my fork?" The sixth, "Who has been cutting with my knife?" The seventh, "Who has been drinking out of my mug?" Then the first looked round and saw that there was a little hole on his bed, and he said, "Who has been getting into my bed?" The others came and each called out, "Somebody has been lying in my bed too." But the 7th, when he looked at his bed, saw little Snow White, who was lying asleep therein. And he called the others, who came running up, and they cried out with astonishment, and brought their 7 little candles, and let the light fall on little Snow White. "Oh heavens! Oh heavens!" they cried. "What a lovely child!" And they were so glad that they did not wake her up. "Oh, Ari, I have appeared in OMG, you look amazing!" Well, thank you. I just put a little makeup on. Considering that I'm reading the story of Snow White, I figured it'd be best if I put on, like, some makeup and, red lipstick and, try and look nice for the fairy tale. So, I've just gotten to the part where Snow White's her stepmother has declared that the huntsman should kill her. The huntsman has killed a boar and brought its heart back to the wicked queen, and the wicked queen has just eaten it, thinking she's eaten the heart of Snow White, and Snow White has now appeared in the 7 dwarfs' cottage. and they've just found her sleeping in their beds, and they think she's very pretty, which I mean, she is pretty. Skin white as snow, hair black as ebony, and lips red as blood. Oh, okay. I shall chill and continue listening. Well, feel free to make comments as you want. This is another Grimm adaptation, so I hope you're ready. Anyway, okay, where were we? What a lovely child. And they were so glad that they did not wake her up, but let her sleep on in the bed. And the seventh dwarf slept with one of his companions, 1 hour with each, and so got through the night. When it was morning, little Snow White awoke and was frightened when she saw the 7 dwarfs, but they were friendly and asked her what her name was. My name is Snow White, she answered. How have you come to our house? Said the dwarfs. And then she told them that her stepmother had wished to have her killed, but that the huntsman had spared her life, and that she had run for the whole day until at last she had found their dwelling. So, Snow White, yep. Yes, Akira. I am reading the story of Snow White. This is inspired by Snow White. I see. Just again further proving my point that Snow White, even thousands of years into the future, has been inspiring people. So, found their dwelling. The dwarf said, if you will take care of our house, cook, make the beds, wash, sew, and knit, and if you keep everything neat and clean, you can stay with us, and you shall want for nothing. Yes, said Snow White, with all my heart, and she stayed with them. She kept the house in order for them. In the mornings they went to the mountains and looked for copper and gold. In the evenings they came back, and their supper had to be ready. The girl was alone in the whole day, so the good dwarfs warned her and said, beware of your stepmother. She will soon know that you are here. Be sure to let no one come in. But the queen, believing that she had eaten Snow White's heart, could not but think that she was again the first and most beautiful of all, and she went to her looking glass and said, and she went to her looking glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? And the glass answered, O queen, thou art fairest of all I see, but over the hills where the 7 dwarfs dwell, Snow White is still alive and well, and none is so fair as she. Then she was astounded, for she knew that the looking glass never spoke falsely, and she knew that the huntsman had betrayed her, and that little Snow White was still alive. And so she thought and thought again how she might kill her, for so long as she was not the fairest in the whole land, envy let her have no rest. And when she had at last thought of something to do, she painted her face and dressed herself like an old peddler woman, and no one could have known her. In this disguise she went over the 7 mountains to the 7 dwarfs, and she knocked at the door and cried, pretty things to sell, very cheap, very cheap. Are you quoting a song, Akira? I can definitely see the Snow White references. So, yeah, disguise herself as an old peddler woman. Cheap, very cheap. Little Snow White looked out of the window and called out, good day, my good woman. What have you to sell? Good things, pretty things, she answered. Stay laces of all colors. And she pulled one out, one which was woven of bright-colored silk. And for those who don't know, stay laces is basically another word for a corset, which corsets go over the ribs and the chest. It basically almost like the equivalence of a bra before bras. And yeah, so basically a corset. And everyone knows you lace a corset. So, yes. So she pulls out a corset made of bright-colored silk. I may let the worthy old woman in, thought Snow White, and she unbolted the door and bought the pretty laces. Child, said the old woman, what a fright you look. Come, I will lace you properly for once. Snow White had no suspicion. But stood before her and let herself be laced with the new laces. But the old woman laced so quickly and so tightly that Snow White lost her breath and fell down as if dead. Now I am the most beautiful, said the queen to herself, and ran away. Not long afterwards, in the evening, the seven dwarfs came home. But how shocked they were when they saw their dear little Snow White lying on the ground, and that she neither stirred nor moved, and seemed to be dead. They lifted her up, and as they saw that she was laced too tightly, they cut the laces, and then she began to breathe a little, and after a while came to life again. When the dwarfs heard what had happened, they said, "The old peddler woman was no one else than the wicked queen. Take care, and let no one come in when we are not with you." Well, that's some way to die. Yep, and I mean, there have been cases of crushed ribs via a corset, so yeah, that's one way to go. But as you can see, the dwarves just cut the laces, and Snow White breathes and comes back to life again. So yeah, just wait, it gets better. Let's see. So the dwarves warn her, it's like, "Let no one come in when we are not with you." But the wicked woman, when she had reached home, went in front of the glass and asked, "Looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" And it answered as before, "O Queen, thou art fairest of all I see. But over the hills where the seven dwarfs dwell, Snow White is still alive and well, and none is so fair as she." When the queen heard that, all her blood rushed to her heart with fear, for she saw plainly that little Snow White was again alive. "But now," she said, "I will think of something that shall put an end to you." And by the help of witchcraft, she understood, she made a poisonous comb. Then she disguised herself and took the shape of another old woman. So she went over the seven mountains to the seven dwarfs, knocked at the door, and cried, "Good things to sell, cheap, cheap." Snow White looked out and said, "Go away. I cannot let anyone come in." I suppose you can look," said the old woman, and pulled the poisonous comb out and held it up. It pleased the girl so well that she let herself be beguiled and opened the door. When they made a bargain, the old woman said, "Now I will comb your hair properly for once." Poor little Snow White had no suspicion, and let the old woman do as she pleased. But hardly had she put the comb in her hair than the poison in it took effect, and the girl fell down senseless. "You paragon of beauty," said the wicked woman, "you are done for now," and she went away. But fortunately, it was almost evening when the seven dwarfs came home. Let's see. More Akira reciting the song. I don't know why you would do that in this live stream, but okay. How did Snow White not see the similarities? I mean, fair enough, Ari, but at the same time, it was a very pretty comb. And that corset was pretty. Very pretty. However, I understand it, and trust me, this will all make sense once the story's over. I promise. Sides. Snow White, like many other fairy tales, follows the rule of three. So, yeah. And sides, the wicked queen took on the form of another old woman when she was selling the poisoned comb. Alright, but fortunately, it was almost evening when the seven dwarfs came home. When they saw Snow White lying as if dead upon the ground, they at once suspected the stepmother, and they looked and found the poisoned comb. Scarcely had they taken it out when Snow White came to herself and told them what had happened. Then they warned her once more to be upon her guard, and to open the door to no one. The queen at home went in front of the glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" Then it answered as before, "O Queen, thou art fairest of all I see, but over the hills where the seven dwarfs dwell, Snow White is still alive and well, and none is so fair as she." When she heard the glass speak thus, she trembled and shook with rage. "Snow White shall die," she cried, "even if it costs me my life." Thereupon she went into a quite secret, lonely room where no one ever came, and there she made a very poisonous apple. Outside it looked pretty, white with a red cheek, so that everyone who saw it longed for it, but whoever ate a piece of it must surely die. When the apple was ready, she painted her face and dressed herself up as a countrywoman, And so she went over the 7 mountains to the 7 dwarfs. She knocked at the door. Snow White put her head out of the window and said, "I cannot let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me." "It is all the same to me," answered the woman. "I shall soon get rid of my apples. There, I will give you one." Why do I always join when someone's dying? Don't worry, I promise the story gets better. Not me here with my Snow White with red hair book. Don't worry, I promise this gets better. I swear to gracious if Snow White falls for this again. Ari, I told you. Snow White, the original fairy tale, follows the rule of 3, like lots of other fairy tales. So yeah. Alrighty. Okay, so I will give you one. The wicked queen, disguised as a countrywoman, offers Snow White one of her apples. Alrighty. "No," said Snow White, "I dare not take anything." "Are you afraid of poison?" said the old woman. "Look, I will cut the apple in 2 pieces. You eat the red cheek, and I will eat the white." And Snow? No! Sorry, Ari, and for those who are unaware, there's a game called Twisted Wonderland. Now I want to find the Snow White boy. Snow, stop! Don't! I actually have heard of Twisted Wonderland, and I do like the characters and the art designs. But yeah, and for those who don't know, the red cheek, I'm pretty sure means like the red skin of the apple. So yeah, all right, Snow, stop! Don't! I'm sorry. The rule of 3 has to be fulfilled by any means necessary. So, look, I will cut the apple in 2 pieces. You eat the red cheek, and I will eat the white. The apple was so cunningly made that only the red cheek was poisoned. Snow White longed for the fine apple, and when she saw that the woman ate part of it, she could resist no longer. She stretched out her hand and took the poisonous half, but hardly had she a bit of it in her mouth than she fell down dead. Then the queen looked at her with a dreadful look, and laughed aloud and said, "White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony wood. This time the dwarfs cannot wake you up again." And when she asked of the looking-glass at home, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? It answered at last, "O Queen, in this land thou art fairest of all." Then her envious heart had rest, so far as an envious heart can have rest. There's a mean joke there about Snow White, but I shall restrain myself. I was about to say, Snow! Jiminy Christmas, Snow! Throw the apple at her, Snow! Crazy Hooker, please say it. Me, not you, Queen. Queen. Weichni is German for Snow White. Yep. Actually, no, Ari. Ari is a king, queen, all in between. Queen. Ari is Ari, and they are a delight. So yes, I'm sorry, Ari. The rule of 3 had to be followed, and that's just how it goes. That's how the mirror breaks. Okay, nobody kill me, but Snow White must be a natural blonde. Runs and hides. No. A crazy anime gamer. No. Yes, she's naive. However, she's not a blonde. Hun. Kill it! She's not a blonde. Her hair is literally described as being black as ebony. She's just naive. And I mean, eventually she'd have to face the queen eventually, so, So yeah, poison apple, the looking glass finally says the queen is the fairest of them all. And then she finally has rest, so far as an envious heart can have rest. The dwarfs, when they came home in the evening, found Snow White lying upon the ground. She breathed no longer, and was dead. They lifted her up, looked to see whether they could find anything poisonous, unlaced her, combed her hair, washed her with water and wine, but it was all of no use. The poor child was dead, and remained dead. They laid her upon a bier, and all 7 of them sat round it and wept for her, and wept 3 days long. I just hope Snow White stays down this time. Lesson learned. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint Ari. Not, not I can imagine Ari in Snow White tuku in a dress. I know, that's why it's a joke, a bad joke, a joke nonetheless. Oh no, May, it'd be a suit. New maid dress. If anyone was gonna wear a dress, it'd probably be me. And I mean, I don't know why, but every time I do I do live stream, or if I'm on a camera, I'm so freaking pale, and my hair is just very dark chocolate brown. It turns black when I take a shower, though. So, yeah. Song. Cat Maid. Well, I could go over some cat fairy tales in here. So, yeah, the dwarves come back. They can't wake her up. They unlace her. They comb her hair. No dice. They put her on a bier, and all 7 of them sat around. Gotta go do something. BRB. Okay, Ari. Just no worries. We'll be here. Alrighty. Then they were going to bury her, but she still looked as if she were living, and still had her pretty red cheeks. They said, "We cannot bury her in the dark ground," and they had a transparent coffin of glass made, so that she could be seen from all sides, and they laid her in it, and wrote her name upon it in golden letters, and that she was a king's daughter. Then they had put the coffin up upon the mountain, and one of them always stayed by it and watched it. Very pale? Are you a vampire in disguise? Everybody run! No, I'm not a vampire. I don't drink blood. I like eating meat though. But funny you should mention that. I will delve into the whole vampire aspect in a bit. So it sounds like a reference from Twisted Wonderland. Twisted Wonderland is very good. Let's see. So yeah, they put her in the they put her in the transparent glass coffin, and each of them take turns watching it. And the birds came too and wept for Snow White, first an owl, then a raven, and last a dove. And now Snow White lay a long time in the coffin, and she did not change, but looked as if she were asleep, for she was as white as snow, as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. It happened, however, that a king's son came into the forest and went to the dwarf's house to spend the night. He saw the coffin on the mountain and the beautiful Snow White within it, and read what was written upon it in golden letters. Then he said to the dwarfs, "Let me have the coffin. I will give you whatever you want for it." But the dwarfs answered, "We will not part with it for all the gold in the world." Then he said, "Let me have it as a gift, for I cannot live without seeing Snow White. I will honor and prize her as my dearest possession." As he spoke in this way, the good dwarfs took pity upon him and gave him the coffin. So, not the familiar, reminding you of Yes. So, yeah. Nothing disconcerting about that. This prince sees a coffin with a supposedly dead girl in it, and says he can't bear to live without seeing her, and that he promises to honor her and cherish her forever. So yeah, just I will get into that. Crazy Canopy Gamer. Yep. So yeah, that's nothing disconcerting. Yeah, I'll take Creepy Queen trying to eat her. Well, just the heart. She just wanted the heart of Snow White. And in some adaptations, she wants her heart and her liver. Sometimes it's the lungs and the liver. Just a piece of meat from Snow White's body, just to, hey, that way, as proof that Snow White is actually dead. So, and so that's okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Fantasizing over a pretty supposed dead girl, or a pretty dead corpse in general, yeah, that's disconcerting on so many levels. Alrighty, so the dwarves give him the coffin, and now the king's son had it carried away by his servants on their shoulders. And when it happened that they stumbled over a tree stump, and with the shock, the poisonous piece of apple which Snow White had bitten off came out of her throat. And before long she opened her eyes, lifted the lid of the coffin, and sat up, and was once more alive. Oh heavens! "Where am I?" she cried. The king's son, full of joy, said, "You are with me," and told her what had happened, and said, "I love you more than everything in the world. Come with me to my father's palace, and you shall be my wife." If this is the original Grimm tale, bad prince! Very bad prince! Oh, I mean, yeah, this is the original Grimm fairy tale. For the most part, if the source is Grimm, I always read it. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, Crazy Anime Gamer, at least Snow White is alive in this story. So at least she's alive now that the poison apple's been knocked from her throat. So that's a little better. But yeah, I will get to that though. I will get to that though in a bit. Trust me. So yeah, so Prince declares his love for her. It's like, "You'll be my wife. Come with me to my father's palace." So yeah. And Snow White was willing and went with him, and their wedding was held with great show and splendor. But Snow White's wicked stepmother was also bidden to the feast. And when she had arrayed herself in beautiful clothes, she went before the looking glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" The glass answered, "O Queen, of all here the fairest art thou, but the young queen is fairer by far as I trow." A Twisted Wonderland. I like all of them, to be honest, anywho. So yeah. The mirror answers, "You're fair is true, but the young queen is much more fairer than you." Then the wicked woman uttered a curse, and was so wretched, so utterly wretched, that she knew not what to do. At first she would not go to the wedding at all, but she had no peace, and must go to see the young queen. The fact that only you pronounce my name correctly. I do my best. Huh, that's weird. The old Grimm tale from my local library was different, but no worries. I don't give spoilers. Well, send me a link to it, Crazy Anime Gamer, if you give me that version. I'd love to give it a read. So yeah, the wicked queen utters a curse, and it becomes so wretched, so absolutely wretched, that she doesn't know what to do, and she at first doesn't want to go to the wedding at all. But she had no peace, and must go to see the young queen. And when she went in, she knew Snow White, and she stood still with rage and fear, and could not stir. But iron slippers had already been put upon the fire, and they were brought in with tongs, and set before her. Then she was forced to put on the red-hot shoes, and dance until she dropped down dead. And that is the story of Snow White, as told by the brothers Grimm. So it's a happy ending for all, but the wicked queen is forced to dance in a pair of red-hot iron shoes at Snow White's wedding until she drops down dead. They're not called Grimm for nothing. But yes. So that was the original story of the Grimm's Fairy. The original story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and obviously, it's very in more aspects than one. The song Mirror Mirror heavily references to the Evil's Queen Magic. Yeah. Referencing to the Queen's line, "Yes, Akira." The reference is very, very obvious. And again, I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry, I'm very challenged. I read that book 16 years ago. For the most part, I prefer books over the internet. I like both. So, tell me, Crazy Anime Gamer, what were the similarities in the version that you read? I'm curious. But yes, that was the story of Snow White. In all its bloody glory. Now, and once again, I I enjoy the stories very much, and I enjoy the adaptations that I've come across of the story Snow White. And as such, like with every story I've currently read on here, some of you are probably asking, well, what is the moral, Avery? What can we learn from the story of Snow White? Well, for starters, there's the very obvious moral of beware of vanity. As such, the evil queen was so vain and so proud that she couldn't stand anyone else being prettier than her. So beware of vanity. Now, beware of vanity and look out for that overconfidence that comes from having good looks. There's nothing wrong with being confident in yourself, but look out for that overconfidence. And of and of course, beauty is only skin deep. And what truly matters is the insides of a person, the content of that character. Because you could be the most beautiful person on earth, an absolute Adonis or an absolute goddess, perfect figure, perfect eyes, perfect teeth, perfect hair, just perfect everything, and absolutely stunning by the standards of societal beauty. But if you are cold and cruel and vain and just spiteful and wicked to everybody else, then nobody is going to want to be around you. No one is going to want to touch that with a 51.5 foot pole, if they have any sense. Some people, well, are lured in quite easy by beauty. Now, this being said, you could be someone who's not technically beauty by societal standards, but if you're kind and you're honest and you're compassionate and you're decent and kind to other people, then other people are going to want to be around you more. And this is the same, and this goes the same way and applies not only to real social life, but also to finding a lover or a partner. Snow White's father, the king, marries. Yep. But yeah, in finding a lover or a partner that you want to be with, if you're pretty but you're selfish and you only care about what you want and how this relationship benefits you and you don't care or take in consideration the feelings of your partner, then the relationship won't go very far and they're going to want to get away from you. However, if you are nice and you're compassionate and you're loving towards your partner and you are understanding and you try and be there for them and you are loving and you take into consideration and care of their feelings and their thoughts, then the relationship should maybe and hopefully flourish and take off and they'll want to be around you more. I've said it before, I prefer the insides of somebody's character. The outsides and the appearance are just icing on the cake. But that is the obvious moral. Another one, obviously being watch out for vanity, which I said so before. But one moral that I can certainly take away from the story of Snow White is the moral of looks can be deceiving. And this ties in with an adaptation of the Snow White story that I own and I happen to read, which is called Snow, Glass, and Apples by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. This is a short graphic novel which is another adaptation of the Snow White story. And rather than being sugar-coated, this goes straight into the darkness. It clings close to the original source material, but then it dives deeper into the darkness, all the way down to necrophilia. And for those of you who don't know what that word means, then sorry, my brother is playing video games, and he should lower his voice. His mouth is close to the microphone. I'm terribly sorry. Hopefully, if I turn my music on, it'll drown him out. And of course, my speakers don't work. Again, it wouldn't be a live stream of mine if something wasn't going wrong. But yeah, the story of Snow, Glass, and Apples goes straight into the darkness, and it goes all the way down to necrophilia. And for those of you who don't know what the word necrophilia is, well, I'm not going to tell you. But I will say this. I went to see Snow White ASMR. Well, we'll see. But yeah, those of you who don't know the word necrophilia, I'm not gonna give you the definition, but I will say this. In life, there are some things that are taboo. But don't look up necrophilia unless you're alone, people! Lol. Yeah, what crazy anime gamer said. Yeah, I'll say this though. In this world, there are some things that are taboo, and that is one of them. But in this story, not the story is portrayed beautifully through the illustrations, but it's also told through the point of view of the evil queen, quote unquote. And in this case, we get we get the we get a different version of the story in which Snow White in this story is a vampire. And if you think about that, it makes sense how she was able to survive so long. It make it makes sense why she has such pale skin and such black hair and such red lips. It also makes sense that she was able to enchant the huntsman and convince him to spare her. In this story, the concept that Snow White is a vampire is definitely delved in and explored through, and it also explains how her mother died within childbirth. It makes sense because Snow White, the vampire, was feeding on her from the inside out. This story, the queen is in this story. The queen is not portrayed as the villain. Rather, she is a woman who became queen, and she tried to avoid Snow White. She tried to kill her. Huntsmen and huntresses. Yes. But she tries to kill Snow White and inevitably fails, and this story doesn't have a happy ending. It is a bittersweet ending where we do not see Snow White get the comeuppance. I learned what I meant by watching way too many cop shows. Disgusting thing was is the episode I watched was actually about necrophilia based on an actual crime. Yuck. Exactly. But yeah, in this take of the story of Snow White is the antagonist, and she wins in the end, essentially. And it also goes into the thematic element of the prince being a necrophilia. As in this adaptation, he tries to be with the queen, yet considering that she is living, he is unable to satisfy himself. Because not only does this book go straight into the dark elements, this book is also kind of graphic and does include some erotic scenes, which also kind of technically tie in to the elements, if you think about it. It's a pleasant story, and I do enjoy it. And I mean, the illustration is gorgeous. I'm going to try and find a safe picture. Keyword being try, because there are some erotic scenes in this. This works. This is a safe one. Snow White and Rose Red is a German fairy tale, best known versus one collected by the Brothers Grimm. Yes, I do have that fairy tale, and I might go into it. But yeah, here's one of the illustrations. And the thing I love about these illustrations is that they are gorgeous and well done. But yeah, this book is not for children, and I would highly recommend you stick to the Grimm or the more child-friendly adaptations. But in this story, Snow White is depicted as a vampire, and it does certainly make sense why she would be so pale. Not only that, but it also ties into the supernatural. A vampire Snow White given birth by a human? I can't help but wonder what whoever wrote that one was thinking at the time. I don't know. But it is a creative adaptation, and I do like it. Again, the illustrations are gorgeous. Just look at this cover. My goodness. So Disney sugarcoated Snow White. Well, yes, but not entirely. Disney certainly did leave out some elements, but it did stay fairly close enough to the source material, in that we do get the infamous poison apple scene, but we also get to see the comeuppance of the Wicked Queen, once again falling to her death and getting crushed by a boulder, and then being picked and devoured by vultures. So, and not to mention, this was back when Disney was passionate about their projects, and we also see some very thematic, scary elements of when Snow White is running into the forest, frightened for her life. So while Disney did sugarcoat the story a bit, I still think it has more of the it still has those dark, grim elements to it. Wasn't the M. Night Shyamalan movie The Village based off a very old Grimm's tale? I'm not sure. But yeah, the morals of Snow White. Beauty is only skin deep. Beware of vanity and envy. And then, of course, mine is looks can be deceptive. And again, that moral can also be applied to real life because someone can be pretty or lovely to look at, but then they can be a terrible person on the inside. You don't know. And so I would just be careful. And I would get to know a person first before going willingly with them. I think all of Disney's stories are sugar-coated versions of old Grimm tales. Okay. With the story of Cinderella, they definitely did sugarcoat it. I mean, we don't have birds pecking out eyes or stepsisters mutilating their feet. And some of them were sugar-coated, but they still had elements of the story. And I think with Cinderella, Disney definitely... Sorry, my brother is really loud playing his VR. But yeah, Disney definitely sugar-coated some of the old Grimm tales, but definitely gave them new twists and made them palatable for younger generations and for older generations as well. So yes and no, I would think. Because again, with Snow White's, they do have some thematic elements, not to mention with Sleeping Beauty and the big fight with Maleficent as a scary dragon. But yeah, that is the story of Snow White. And I think we're just about done. Once this song... Correction, almost all of them. It's fine, Crazy Gamer. We all make mistakes. But once this song ends, I think we'll just wrap up this video. But yeah. Or I have some of the Fairytale adaptations opened up on my laptop. I could read Gold Tree and Silver Tree. I could read The Young Slave, another Italian adaptation of Snow White. There's The Crystal Casket, another Italian adaptation. There's The Death of the Seven Dwarfs, which is a folk legend from Switzerland. Or I could read the story of Maria, the Wicked Stepmother, and the Seven Robbers, which is another Italian adaptation of the Grimm's fairy tale, if people are interested. If I get 3 yeses on reading another adaptation of Snow White like I did in the episode with Cinderella, then I will read another adaptation. But that's only if I get 3. Ari's like, yes, read another adaptation already. Well, that's 2. We just need 1 more, and I will read 1 more, and I will read 1 Snow White adaptation. That's only if I get 1 more yes. And then you guys can pick which one you want of me to read. Someone say yes! Oh my goodness. Ari, you just really want to hear me read more fairy tales, don't you? And I'm sorry to say, but that all caps yes doesn't count. I'm sorry. So I got 1 from Ari, 1 from Akira. Indeed. Well, again, if we get 1 more yes, then I will read 1 other adaptation of Snow White. Oh, my mistake. Gold Tree and Silver Tree is a Scottish adaptation of the Snow White story. My mistake. I thought it was Irish. I apologize. DreamWorks did do Snow White summons animals to attack the living trees in the 3rd. I know that. I know that's Akira. So that's 2 yeses. Crazy Anime Gamer, do you want to hear another Snow White story? Oh, my laptop's almost dead. Better plug the charger in, and the pearl crown is supposed to be like right at the center, but of course it's sewing. Avery, have you read any urban legend stories like Baba Yaga, the Tiki Tik, the Slit-Mouthed Woman, Koishki the Deathless? I actually do own the story of Koishi the Deathless, which is a Russian fairy tale, and I know of Baba Yaga, and the story of Koshki the Deathless is in the blue fairy book or the orange fairy book or maybe the red fairy book, which the colored fairy books that I got all have have different fairy tales from around the world in them. So Crazy Anime Gamer, just say yes. You don't need to know why. Just say the word yes. Yes. Woo! Akira, Silver One. Okay, so Akira wants me to read Gold Tree and Silver Tree. What about you, Ari? What kind of story do you want? We got a few adaptations to choose from. We got Gold Tree and Silver Tree, which is a Scottish adaptation of the fairy tale. We got The Young Slave, an Italian adaptation. Maria, the Wicked Stepmother and the Seven Robbers, also Italian adaptation. The Crystal Casket, also an Italian adaptation. And Death of the Seven Dwarfs, a folk legend from Switzerland. So those are some of the adaptations that I can read to you guys, but which one do you want? Or do you want me to just pick at random? Death of the Seven Dwarfs! Silver One! Alright, so that's one vote for Death of the Seven Dwarfs and one for Silver Tree and Gold Tree. What about you, Crazy Gamer? I'm fine with any, to be honest. Koichiki the Deathless has more than one ending according to what I've been told. It does. I'm fine with any, to be honest. Well, Crazy Anime Gamer, choose what adaptation of Snow White you want me to read. Got a bunch of Italian, I got a Scottish adaptation, and then I got a Swiss one. We got this. Whoops. We got Gold Tree and Silver Tree from Scotland, The Young Slave from Italy, Maria, the Wicked Stepmother and the Seven Robbers from Italy, The Crystal Casket from Italy, and we also have Death of the Seven Dwarves, which is from an old. I'm fine with any of them. Well, if you're fine with any of them, then I guess I will just have to pick at random. I'm fine with this, though. Alright, so maybe we could do Silver One first and then Death? That's 2 adaptations. But I suppose if you ask nicely, I'll read both of them. If people ask nicely, I will. I believe manners are important. Let's see. Doodly doodly doo. Doody doody doo. Sorry. Please. Alright, Akira said please. It's good enough. Alright. So I'm going to read Gold Tree and Silver Tree first. And then we'll do the Death of this. Please, your great strawberry highness, can we read them both? Alright. I will read Gold Tree and Silver Tree first. I'm just gonna sip of my tea. Gold Tree and Silver Tree. Once upon a time, there was a king who had a wife whose name was Silver Tree and a daughter whose name was Gold Tree. On a certain day of the days, Gold Tree and Silver Tree went to a glen where there was a well, and in it there was a trout. Said Silver Tree, "Trouty, bonny little fellow, am I not the most beautiful queen in the world?" "Oh, indeed you are not." "Who then?" "Why, Gold Tree, your daughter." Silver Tree went home blind with rage. She lay down on the bed and vowed she would never be well until she could get the heart and the liver of Gold Tree, her daughter, to eat. After reading Koshi the Deathless, I loved it so much I've been looking for all possible versions. Well, I wish you luck in that. So, yeah. Nobody bats an eye when I read that Silver Tree wants to eat the heart and the liver of Gold Tree, her own daughter. Nobody bats an eye at that. Like, my goodness. Anyway. At nightfall, the king came home, and it was told to him that Silver Tree, his wife, was very ill. He went to where she was and asked her what was wrong with her. "Oh, only a thing which you may heal if you like." "Oh, indeed, there is nothing at all which I could do for you that I would not do. If I get the heart and the liver of Gold Tree, my daughter, to eat, I shall be well." Now it happened about this time that the son of a great king had come from abroad to ask Gold Tree for marrying. The king now agreed to this, and they went abroad. The king then went and sent his lads to the hunting hill for a he-goat, and he gave its heart and its liver to his wife to eat, and she rose well and healthy. Sorry I'm late. It's okay, Under Gibson. I'm reading an adaptation of the story of Snow White. Crazy McGear? You bad queen! Shame on you! Yes. I didn't say it before in the original Fairytale, but I'll say it now. You should not eat people. Cannibalism is not cool. Like seriously though. But I will say this though. I do eat meat and I eat a lot of, venison and fish and stuff. And I will say this, I've also had cow and I have in fact eaten heart. I've had turkey heart, cow heart, and venison heart, and it's actually really good, especially when it's fried up. It's chewy, but it works out your jaw muscle. So I definitely enjoy heart, but I would not eat the heart of people. Cool kids don't commit cannibalism. Exactly. Alrighty, so back to the story. So yeah, the silver tree asks for the heart and the liver of her own daughter, and a son of a great king comes and asks to marry Gold Tree. The king agrees to this, and they go abroad. And the queen ends up eating a goat's heart and liver rather than the heart and liver of her own daughter. Alrighty. After a year after this, Silver Tree went to the glen, where there was the well in which there was the trout. "Trouty, bonny little fellow," said she, "am I not the most beautiful queen in the world?" "Oh, indeed you are not." "Who then?" "Why, Gold Tree, your daughter." "Oh, well, it is long since she was living. It is a year since I ate her heart and liver." "Oh, indeed she is not dead. She is married to a great prince abroad." There's a hair on my laptop. Silver Tree went home and begged the king to put the long ship in order, and said, "I am going to see my dear Gold Tree, for it is so long since I last saw her." The long ship was put in order, and they went away. It was Silver Tree herself that was at the helm, and she steered the ship so well that they were not long at all before they arrived. The prince was out hunting on the hills. Gold Tree knew the long ship of her father coming. "Oh," said she to the servants, "my mother is coming, and she will kill me." "She shall not kill you at all. We will lock you in a room where she cannot get near you." This is how it was done, and when Silver Tree came ashore, she began to cry out, "Come to meet your own mother when she comes to see you." Gold Tree said that she could not, that she was locked in the room, and that she could not get out of it. "Will you not put out," said Silver Tree, "your little finger through the keyhole, so that your own mother may give a kiss to it?" She put out her little finger, and Silver Tree went and put a poisoned stab in it, and Gold Tree fell dead. For those of you who don't know, tell that to a Wendigo, lol. Yeah, well, a Wendigo is a monster. They're not human, so that don't count. And for those who don't know, the poison stab, I believe it refers to a ring in which there were rings that you could flip the top and there would be a spike for poisoning. Whew, thank goodness the king cared about his child. Yes, indeed. There are good fathers in fairy tales, just like there are good mothers in fairy tales. But there are also terrible fathers and terrible mothers in fairy tales. So, yeah. Let's see. Poison stab in it, and Gold Tree fell dead. Okay. When the prince came home and found Gold Tree dead, he was in great sorrow, and when he saw how beautiful she was, he did not bury her at all, but he locked her in a room where nobody would get near her. In the course of time, he married again, and the whole house was under the hand of his wife but one room, and he himself always kept the key of that room. On a certain day of days, he forgot to take the key with him, and the second wife got into the room. What did she see there but the most beautiful woman she ever saw? She began to turn and try to wake her, and she noticed the poisoned stab in her finger. She took the stab out, and Gold Tree rose alive, as beautiful as she was ever. At the night of nights, the prince came home from the hunting hill, looking very downcast. "What gift," said his wife, "would you give me that I could make you laugh?" "Oh, indeed, nothing could make me laugh except Gold Tree were to come alive again." "Well, you'll find her alive down there in the room." When the prince saw Gold Tree alive, he made great rejoicings, and he began to kiss her and kiss her and kiss her. Said the second wife, "Since she is the first one you had, it is better for you to stick to her, and I will go away." "Oh, indeed, you shall not go away, but I shall have both of you." I'm sure she wanted to give you a middle finger, but not that kind, haha. Yeah, except Jacques, terrible father. Alright, I gotta go get ready for work. Hope you have a great day. Alright, Ari, I hope you have a good day. So, yeah, decent young prince. I mean, he's grateful. get some lipstick on my teeth. But he's grateful that his first wife is alive again, and he keeps both of them. Definitely not something I would do, but each to their own. At the end of this year, Silvertree went to the glen, where there was the well, in which there was the trout. "Trouty, bonny little fellow," said she, "am I not the most beautiful queen in the world?" "Oh, indeed you are not." "Who then?" "Why, Goldtree, your daughter." "Oh, well, she is not alive. It is a year since I put the poisoned stab into her finger." "Oh, indeed, she is not dead at all, at all." Silvertree went home and begged the king to put the longship in order, for he was going to see her dear Goldtree, as it was so long since she saw her. The longship was put in order, and they went away. It was Silvertree herself that was at the helm, and she steered the ship so well that they were not long at all before they arrived. The prince was out hunting on the hills. Goldtree knew her father's ship coming. "Oh," said she, "my mother is coming, and she will kill me." "Not at all," said the second wife. "We will go down to meet her." Silvertree came ashore. "Come down, Goldtree, love," said she, "for your own mother has come to you with a precious drink." "It is custom in this country," said the second wife, "that the person who offers a drink takes a draught of it first." Silvertree put her mouth to it, and the second wife went and struck it so that some of it went down her throat, and she fell down dead. They had only to carry her home a dead corpse and bury her. The prince and his two wives were long alive after this, pleased and peaceful. I left them there. And that is the story of Goldtree and Silvertree, the Scottish adaptation of Snow White. Oh, oh, it's a short story. Wow. So, greedy little prince. Greedy, maybe, but at the same time, I can understand him being very grateful that his first wife is alive, and I can understand him not wanting to hurt the second wife's feelings. Again, each to their own, but if I were in the prince's shoes, I would be grateful and I would still be faithful to my first wife, but then I would give the second wife a high position in the palace, and I would reward her very well. That's what I would do. The origins of Snow White could actually lie in history and may have been inspired by the Countess Margaretha von Waldeck and her alleged lover, Prince Philip II of Spain. Huh, I did not know that. But thank you, that's a very clever fact. Alright, but now, here's the story. The Death of the Seven Dwarfs, a legend from Switzerland. And it's a very short story, so this won't be too long. On one of the high plains between Brugg and Waldshut, near the Black Forest, seven dwarfs lived together in a small house. Late one evening, an attractive young peasant girl who was lost and hungry approached them and requested shelter for the night. The dwarfs had only 7 beds, and they fell to arguing with one another, for each one wanted to give up his bed for the girl. Finally, the oldest one took the girl into his bed. Before they could fall asleep, a peasant woman appeared before their house, knocked on the door, and asked to be let inside. The girl immediately got up and told the woman that the dwarfs had only 7 beds and that there was no room there for anyone else. With this, the woman became very angry and accused the girl of being a slut, thinking that she was cohabiting with all 7 men. Threatening to make a quick end to such evil business, she went away in a rage. The same night she returned with 2 men, whom she had brought back from the bank of Rhine. They immediately broke into the house and killed the 7 dwarfs. They buried the bodies outside in the garden and burned the house to the ground. No one knows what became of the girl. And that is the end of the Death of the 7 Dwarves, a legend from Switzerland. But I don't judge, to each their own when it comes to who and how you love. Exactly. But yeah, that was a very short story of the Death of the 7 Dwarfs, and color me impressed by how short the story was and how mysterious the ending was. It almost sounds kind of haunting, as no one knows what happened to the girl. That might tie into the vampiric nature. And Scholar Grimm compares the story of Snow White to the Roman legend of Kira according to Ovid's Metamorphosis. How fun! How fascinating! But yeah, that was the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, as well as 2 adaptations, one from Scotland and one from Switzerland. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!